I think that the number of gotaways that they have spoken about is the number that they actually were able to document. But I do not believe that that number of gotaways comes even close to what actually got away. If you're a drug smuggler and you're seeing that all the agents have left the line because they're busy processing the 300 people that you were in charge of crossing, and you have scouts on that line that have been on that line as scouts for months at a time, gauging what agents work in that area, what agents move from that area, are no longer there. You have acquired all this intel. You've been allowed to fly drones into the United States to not just see what's happening in the line, but actually get intel on what's beyond that line. And you're able to bring the biggest load of dope or drugs or anything else you want to bring, the biggest load of individuals that actually have a criminal background and couldn't even just say asylum. You wouldn't take advantage of making money and bring them across. And that's exactly what happened during that time. There was nobody out there to stop it. Our gotaway numbers isn't even close to what really got away. We didn't have it good under Obama, right? But the agents, there was equipment there. President Trump came over because the border was just chaotic. They were allowing anyone to come across the border. I think a lot of it is social media, new technology, new ways to communicate. So it's just so much easier for a lot of the drug cartels, smuggling organizations to communicate with other people throughout the entire world. So that expanded that criminal network. At the same time, you're not seeing the regular drug traffickers that you would see for a long time. A lot of these individuals, they had their children in the United States. So now those kids got an opportunity to go to our schools and our colleges and our universities. So they changed the mentality of the drug cartels and the smuggling cartels into a Fortune 500 business. So you started seeing that movement. So then you knew how chaotic it was. You bring President Trump in here. He says he's going to stop the chaos at the border. He's going to say you have to prove that you actually have some type of legitimate claim to stay here. So you go back all the way that far to 2016, and just the border starts getting more secure because people aren't coming across. There's a deterrent there. The verbiage that President Trump would use, that was a deterrent. So they stopped coming across. Obviously we get COVID hits, right? And the agents were happy when they were out in the field because they knew that they were doing their job, and not just doing their job, but it was respected that they were doing it by somebody. And that somebody that's respecting is the President of the United States. So that's a huge deal for everyone. We go back and forth, COVID hits, and then Biden takes over.
Thank you. Joe Biden is good. I love you, Joe Biden.
We had it so good under President Trump. When you turn off that switch and you have Biden now in office that says, come one, come all, pretty much hands the keys to the drug traffickers and says, here, you're in charge. Cross whoever you want. I think that's where the frustration hits. And we're seeing millions and millions come across. You had a lot of agents that were stuck in processing centers. When you're seeing a lot of agents stuck in processing centers, the drug cartels knew what they were doing. So what they would do is they were working hand in hand with the human smugglers. They would, overflow one area with people coming across the border asking for asylum, because the promise was clear. Hey, you're not going to get detained. You're going to be released. All you got to do is say asylum. They knew that. So they would just continuously use that in order to distract agents. So now you don't have agents on the line. So when you don't have agents on the line, sometimes some of the local authorities are getting called to go to a lot of these remote areas to see what's going on. So now that leaves it wide open for the drug cartels to work and move their product throughout the communities. So you were seeing a lot of that product. I talk to the schools. I have friends that are in these neighborhoods, and they talk to schools, and they would say, look, the amount of drugs coming into our schools is crazy. I grew up on the border, and I remember seeing drugs coming through the school system when I was growing up. But when now under the Biden administration, it was a free-for-all. It was a free-for-all of heroin, methamphetamines, marijuana was still coming through. It was a free-for-all of drugs, because we had an administration that just didn't care. I mean, that's the way you got to put it. I get asked all the time, what was their ultimate goal? Was it more voters? Was it this? Their ultimate goal was they didn't care. That's how horrific it really was. I truly believe that. They just did not care. President Trump's been that one individual that has been able to help us get more of a voice out to the world. And agents feel that extra protection because they have a leader in the country that's going to back them up. The years of the Biden administration, agents were truly scared to do their jobs. That's what it comes down to. There's no way around it. When you're seeing agents do their job and there's an invasion going on in Texas and you have agents on horseback go down there, controlling their horses so the horse doesn't run over an individual that's entering illegally committing a crime. And at the end, that agent's the one that's put on the chopping block for not doing anything wrong. And you have leadership in our agency speak up and say they will pay for what they did. Well, what did they do? Protected our nation's borders? That's what they did. All those individuals that stood up there and vilified those agents, they knew the reality. They knew nothing was there. They knew they didn't do anything. None of them spoke up for them. It was the contrary. They spoke against them to the world to make them be the villains. That's something agents were dealing with each and every day when they'd go to work. They'd go to work and they would show up without their uniform because they didn't want their neighbors to know they were agents. That's horrific. You had an open season where you knew if you're the one that's using your weapon or you're the one that's defending your life, you're possibly the one that's going to end up in jail for it. So that gave that extra, bragging rights to the cartel saying, we can do whatever we want. America's not going to defend themselves and there's nothing they could do. We're on the border. We're in Tucson. And everyone knows, look, there's sanctuary cities that have said they're sanctuary cities, but there's cities that behave like sanctuary cities that won't openly say it. Right. They don't openly say it because they know the backlash. Now they know they can be attacked with funding or whatever. Tucson, I believe, is one of those cities where they really don't back up law enforcement the way they should back them up. Unfortunately, you have, the chief of police here who I think, does the best he can, but he can't speak up. You have sheriffs that, can speak, but they won't speak up. It's a limited amount of law enforcement and leadership that are able to speak up and are willing to speak up because they have to face a lot of backlash. Arizona is one of those weird states where depending on where you're at, they're pro law enforcement or they're not law enforcement. But the funny thing is I speak all over the state and everyone says they want to feel secure in their home. Well, part of being secure in your home is making sure your borders are secure. Those are the true issues that we are going to continue to face because you have politicians that are anti-America. That's what they are. Yeah. And they embolden themselves in their communities with their constituents and they realize I'm safe in my bubble, I can speak out, and it's good to speak out against President Trump right now and they want to do it. That's the reality. I ask and I get asked, what's the reason these individuals do that? Their hatred towards Trump is so big, they don't care about what happens to this country. I truly believe that. But now I think that's morphed. Now their hatred towards Trump has morphed into also having a hatred towards this country as a whole. Look, I know there's people that are against President Trump, but they need to realize that President Trump, I've spoken to him many times, myself, I'm an immigrant myself. I'm not against immigration. President Trump is not against immigration. We're against illegal immigration. I've said it many times. President Trump has said it once. I was very proud when he said it because I've been saying it nonstop. We don't close our door at night because we hate the people outside. We close it because we love the people inside. Our nation's borders should be the same. I want, as far as for the agents, I want the public to realize that I wish that they could love the agents half as much as what the agents love America. That's all I'm asking for. I've worked with fantastic individuals from all religions and all races, those that have migrated to this country, those that have been born in this country, and they all do the same thing. They care about this country. I was asked all the time during the Biden administration, why do you keep doing this when the public is against you, when politicians are against you? We've kept doing it because the person standing next to me was wearing the same uniform, and he cared. And he cared about me, and I cared about him and his family. We want America to love us as much as we love America. That's all we've ever asked for.